Gotta give credit where credit is due, my man. Today we are heading over to the Vancouver Canucks and talking about a really amazing article that was published by one of my colleagues in this business, Chris Faber, who used to work for the Canucks Conversation podcast and inevitably Canucks Army. We actually did meet up once at BCIT. It was really interesting to pick at his brain a little bit as to his podcasting world. But after a few years, Faber left the Canucks Conversation show and joined the Vancouver Canucks media team. And he's been publishing articles like this one for the past few months here. And this latest edition on the Canucks website I thought was just an absolutely amazing read. There are a lot of great quotes and interview comments. So what I wanted to do was head over to Vancouver. Actually, maybe head over to Abbey instead. Yeah, we can talk about Abbotsford a little bit. Because today, we're talking about a guy that was supposed to be, I say supposed to be, he wasn't, but he was supposed to be a first overall pick. He wasn't, and now, a few years later, he is in the Vancouver Canucks system. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about Aatu Raty. Now, before we dive into the entire Chris Faber article that was put onto the Canucks website, let's just go over the profile here for Raty. He's 21 years old, 6'2", 187, left-handed guy, and he was drafted by the New York Islanders in the second round, 52nd overall in the 2021 NHL Draft. He was acquired by Vancouver in the Bo Horvat trade, and that trade was really impactful. My goodness, I cannot even begin to describe how good and positive the Bo Horvat trade was for the Vancouver Canucks. But in 2021, Aatu Raty was not taken near the first overall spot. He was 51 picks after that. However, that wasn't always the narrative with this player. Because heading into the 2020-2021 draft season, Aatu Raty had made his name known in Finland for years as the best prospect in the world in this age range. He was so good in all of the junior Finnish leagues, even as an underage player, that at the start of 2020's season, everybody was saying, hey, this guy's going to be first overall. Raty is going to be number one. He's going to be in that same territory with guys like Matty Beniers and Ken Johnson, the Michigan boys. You also had yourselves Luke Hughes, who's going to be there, William Eklund. Aatu Raty was right in that conversation at the beginning of the 2021 draft year. But as his year went on, he actually started to disappoint. He didn't improve on any production in the Finnish Liga that he had. He got cut from the World Junior team. And, I think it's Will Scouching who said this, but in some capacity, when prospects have really good draft years, their momentum might just actually carry them a little bit higher in the draft than they should really be. And if they have a bad year, the fallout could be a little bit worse than what they should actually experience instead. Momentum plays a really big part. If you have a first overall caliber prospect, but all of a sudden throughout the year he plays more like a 10th to 15th overall pick, teams are going to look at that and say, wow, that guy sucks. We're going to drop him even further down than he deserves, and he'll end up getting taken like 30th or 31st overall. That's what happened to Joe Veleno in 2017-18. Aatu Raty was a victim of those same things, because in his draft-eligible year, he was actually ranked as highly as number 12 by McKeen's. Of course, though, we know he slipped all the way to the 50s. Give it a few years, and Aatu Raty found himself into the Bridgeport Islanders AHL system, then he was traded over to Vancouver, and in this most recent season with the Vancouver's farm team, Aatu Raty had 52 points in 72 games played, 18 goals, 34 assists, and 4 points in 6 games in the playoffs. Now, at 21 years old, that's a really great stat line. And while I don't want to say that Aatu Raty was never going to be the number one center like some thought he would be back in 2020, 2021, this player still has a pretty good offensive ceiling and some good intangibles too to potentially project as a two-way capable middle to top six center at the NHL level long term. With all this in mind, let's go out there to Building Blue. Young but experienced, Aatu Raty prepares for the biggest season of his career, published by Chris Faber from 2 days ago. The article takes its time in describing what's been going on with Raty, and it opens up by talking about how the 21-year-old center is at a point in his career where he is now fully comfortable with the transition to North American hockey, and he is seeing BC evolve into his new home. I guess this is the longest I've been with a team now, said Raty. It's now been 1.5 seasons of not getting traded. I think this is the time to take the next step in my career. Faber then highlights in the piece how Raty has had himself a program that he sticks to. It's all about creating a program and then trusting it. You just have to grind through it. You can't let other things like people asking you to change your plans and go somewhere. You have to set up around your workouts because going away from the program means you won't recover the way that you should. You just have to trust the process and kind of have nothing to do the whole summer. For me, it's a lot about speed and strength in my lower body. On top of the strength stuff, there's a lot of work on the ice doing skating work, but I can't do squats 7 days a week. It's a lot of work to bring the work in the gym to the ice, and I like it. I'm getting a really good feeling about my technique this summer. I feel like I'm really improving. Faber then makes a really good point in this piece by talking about how Aatu Raty didn't really exhibit this process of working out and having proper recovery time in his workouts when he was younger. Even though he is only 21, Raty has matured a lot, because when he was 16, he had worked out for hours and hours on end, but didn't set himself to recover the right way. He was lucky that he was young and his body was able to push through, but there's a more mature way of looking at workouts now, and some of that maturity was gifted to him through conversations with Daniel and Henrik Sedin. Okay, baby, you want to talk about conditioning? Talk about biking from Marine Drive all the way to Grouse Mountain, doing the grouse grind, and then biking back. Henrik and Daniel Sedin were kind of the kings of conditioning and physical recovery. I think they're so good at developing because they keep it simple, Raty said. Everybody knows that there's no magic formula, but how they coach is a lot like how they played. They work hard, they keep it simple, and if you see their drills, they're simple. There's nothing fancy about them, but they are effective. You have to adapt to the way that pro hockey is played here. The coaches know what they're doing, and they've been in North America longer than I have, said Raty with a laugh. I know I need to trust in that, and continue playing that way. There are obviously things in my game that got me here, so it's not like I'm trying to completely change the way I play, but I trust the coaches and the game plan. The article then dives into an entire section as to how Raty had played this most previous year, talking about the video coaches and talking about the positional responsibilities that Raty was given with the baby Canucks in 23-24. But heading into next season, this is where I wanted to end off this video. Let's skip over to the bottom here and read some of the comments that Raty makes in regards to the Canucks roster changes. He is not fixating on the Vancouver Canucks projected lineup, but instead he is just looking to help out the organization. You obviously want to make the team out of camp, but if you play well, people are going to notice. I think it's simply about playing the game the right way and just doing everything I can while not thinking about the result of if I'm going to make the team or not. That is unnecessary pressure, said Raty. That's a very European way to look at it. I like it. They're going to make the best team possible, and obviously I want to be a part of that, but it's not all about me. We want to win. I'm just going to give it my all and make it not be up to me. Right now, I'm just focused on giving 100% and doing all the preparation in the summer. Aatu Raty has a really good head on his shoulders, and I feel like when it comes to the 2020-2021 debacle of him being a first overall pick who had slipped 51 slots to number 52, there is kind of a mental toll that kind of thing could take on a guy, right? I mean, the guy was projected first overall for years. He plays in his draft year. He gets cut from the World Juniors. He gets limited ice time. He doesn't play well with more ice time in the Liga. And then he slips 50 spots. What does that do to a 17, 18-year-old dude's confidence? Like, you saw Alexis Lafreniere get taken first overall in 2020. You're sitting there thinking, yeah, I'm supposed to be the next one. Like, I am going to be first overall next year. It was Dahlin, Hughes, Lafreniere, and then me. And then you became a second-round guy a year later. Like, an 18-year-old really can't even encapsulate that kind of pressure and what that does to your confidence. So for an 18-year-old Aatu Raty to go from that situation to what he's doing right now, where it's like, hey, I'm not trying to, like, make the team, quote-unquote. I'm not putting that pressure on myself. I'm just going to do my best. Like, I'm not going to go out there and really push things, you know? Mentally, just got to stop. Just got to focus on what I can focus on. Focus on my own craft and my own physical sense of self. That's great. Very, very great. And I think if Aatu Raty was able to let loose a little bit, just kind of let go of all the expectations of being a first overall projected guy and head into 24-25 with a new head on his shoulders in Abbotsford, there's probably an opportunity that he's got in the Vancouver Canucks system long term. Isn't there? Let me know your opinions in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.